And welcome everyone to another edition of the Less is More Sports podcast, the show that always goes for the gold. But today is more of a special show than normal for us here at the Less is More Sports podcast because it's one of our favorite shows of the year. You all know what it is because I'm wearing a hat, and I think you can figure out where we're going with this. That it is officially college football season, and before we get to that kickoff, we need to see what's cap and not cap. So we've got 9 questions to get through. Les and Ryan are going to tell me if they're cap or no cap. See what the people are saying about this upcoming season. See if the people are as smart as we think they are. And we love our fans, but we have to test that against the will of the people sometime. So without further ado, I'm going to get us started with question number one, which it feels like we've been asking for the past 4 years, at least 4 years, probably even more than that, which is, can Georgia go a week without a player arrested for going 100 miles per hour?
Ooh, I dig it.
That's actually not the first question, but it
Cap.
does involve Kirby Smart and his Bulldogs, which is Georgia. Georgia is the preseason natty favorite. Cap or no cap? The floor is yours, gentlemen. Let's go.
Well, you got to say which one of us is going first. You have full
I'll go
control
with
of the
you
show,
decide.
my guy.
Oh, I get to choose? Okay. Well, let's
Yeah.
hear Ryan's take first. Let's let Ryan go. Ryan.
Um, I think this is no cap. They've been dominant for the past couple of years. They're returning a bunch of starters, including the quarterback Carson Beck. So it's 10 offensive players that are returning. Actually, 9 offensive players. Rara Thomas is not on the team. So it's 9 offensive players returning on offense and 6 on defense, including Malachi Starks and Michael Williams, who they are expected to have great seasons. A lot of people thought that I think it's Michael, I think that's how you say his name, was supposed to have a great season last year. It was all right last year. I expect him to be really good this year. But I think that this is no surprise. And honestly, for my team right here, I don't like being number one. I'd rather be 2 or 3. So um, that doesn't mean like I want to lose games. I just want to be undefeated and not number one because that's a lot of pressure. But pressure is a privilege. But yeah, no cap on Georgia preseason natty favorites. I think they're just the most dominant most years. And I do have a hot take. I think Georgia would have put up the best fight against anyone against Michigan last year in the playoffs, maybe even beat them. Uh, I I wish Georgia was in the playoffs last year just because you know the the downfall that they had with just losing one game. They went from like 1 to 6, which was crazy, but I don't know. That was last year. We're on to this year. So, yeah.
And now Les.
Speaking of Ra Thomas, hey Siri, play Speedin' by Rick Ross. But anyways, as for my point, obviously this is no cap for me as well. For me, it's between 3 teams: Georgia, Ohio State, and Texas. Those are the big 3. Georgia has the best roster. Ohio State has had the best offseason. Texas has the best aura right now. But as a Texas fan, I'm hoping Texas pulls their best Kendrick Lamar impersonation and says, F the big 3, it's the big meat. And while we're on topic, October 19th, we play Georgia, and I'm hoping we turn DKR into Pet Cemetery. And even though it's no cap for me, I'm rocking the real UT hat right here. So that's all I got to say about that. Tennessee, your fans saw what I just posted on Facebook. Do not ever question that Texas is the real UT ever again. Stop the nonsense.
I think I'd rather have a UTI than have this discussion. So,
Wow. You even get a UTI?
What?
Okay, I'm going to shut up before I say something real stupid.
Okay, that's probably a good thing to move on. All right, so question number 2. While Georgia may not have moved conferences this year, several teams did, which brings us to question number 2. New teams are going to struggle in their new conferences. Cap or no cap? We're going to start with Les this time.
I feel like a recruit on signing day. That is cap to me because I see a realistic world where Texas wins the SEC, Oregon wins the Big Ten, And as for the Big 12, maybe it's Utah, maybe it's Colorado, but that could be a topic for later on in the show. I mean, and the best part is, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but like, for the college football fans watching this episode, don't sit here and tell me that that's crazy. So, being that I see a realistic world where a lot of new teams can realistically win the conference year one, no, I think it's cap that they're going to struggle year one. Short, sweet, to the point.
For me, I'm going with Cap also. Um, I have teams like Texas, Oregon, SMU. I don't think that they will struggle. I think SMU is actually going to be a force in the ACC first year. But Texas going to the SEC, they have the right players. They have the right coaches. I don't think they're going to struggle. Oregon's going to put up a great fight in the Big Ten. They're going to be one of the top teams already coming in. Hasn't played a game yet. Still, they're gonna be at the top of the Big Ten. But I also think that for the Big Ten, I think they're pushing the narrative of the Big Ten defenses being like this big bad defense that is unstoppable. I think the defenses are really good, and like the players are all about like they don't have like this like luxury stuff in like LA. They just have like farms. It's the Midwest. Like the defenses are rugged, but I think they're pushing the narrative a little bit on that they're just going to be unstoppable for the new teams coming in. I think that Oregon will really do well in the Big Ten. Um, but yeah, I'm just gonna go cap on this one. I think that most schools will be fine in their new conferences.
I do think it's interesting, though, we're having to preface this by saying that most teams, because the dichotomy here is very interesting, because we have teams like Texas and Oregon, who I would be shocked if they didn't make the college football playoffs. And then you've got your UCLA in the Big Ten, who's picked one in the bottom fourth of the conference. You've got your teams like Cal and Stanford, who got the last train out of like the collapsing city as they head to the ACC, and then Oklahoma, who knows what's going on in Oklahoma. So it's going to be interesting to see like how those teams that aren't expected to be playoff good end up faring, because this is almost one of those questions that deserves the legendary half cap. Because, for every Oregon, there's going to be a Cal or a Stanford that goes into Louisville on a random Friday night in November and gets blown out. Speaking of that, though, that brings us to our third question here, which is that people are sleeping on the ACC as a conference. Ryan, I'm going to let you have the first shot at this question. Let's see what you think about the ACC this year. Are people sleeping on it?
Okay, so this question kind of stumped me a little bit because I don't think that ACC will do that good. So does that mean that like is this cap or no cap for me? Because I don't think that people or that the ACC will actually do good in like against the other like big teams. So I don't know whether like
I would just cap it personally.
okay, yeah, because like I see some talent like NC State's supposed to be good with Casey Concepcion. They got Grayson McCall. If they still had Peyton Wilson, that would be huge for the team. Obviously, he's on to the Steelers now, but I just the ACC could be solid, I guess, but I just don't think that they compare to other teams. And don't get me started with Miami. I don't want to hear anything about people thinking that Miami's going to be good. They're overrating them into like the top 15 when they just because they got Cam Moore does not mean that they'll be amazing now. Louisville, I hope they can get back to 7, 8, 9, 10 wins this season. Hopefully they can finally beat Kentucky, I swear. But yeah, I don't think that the ACC will be that good. I don't know whether sleeping or non-sleeping, but I'm going with Cap.
All right, Les.
We need to go back into the Less is More Sports archives to our previous cap or no cap episodes and see when the quickest disagreement we've had on the show like happens. because now we're in the third question. I don't know in other episodes if like me and Matt have ever disagreed from the jump, but I'm here for it because it's boring as hell if we're just going to agree the whole freaking episode. So, Ryan, I respect your opinion. You do your thing, my boy, but I disagree. It is no cap because the absolute disrespect that the ACC got last year, getting left out of the college football playoff despite having an undefeated conference champ, is wild. And, if Alabama has to be left off, I'm sorry. You know what? Because the best one-loss team was the Texas Longhorns. Because we rolled into Bryant-Denny Stadium and upset the Tides and held the ball for 7 minutes straight to end the game. So if y'all got to be left out, I'm sorry. Y'all can cry about it. But anyways, yeah, the ACC even this year is completely being slept on because Florida State, we know they're going to be good. Miami, Ryan talked about Miami, and I'm going to touch on them a little bit. You've heard me talk on the podcast before about year 3 Cristobal, how he always turns the corner. And now they have Cam Ward. They're a problem now. NC State's getting a lot of love. Clemson, you already know, is in the conversation every year. Louisville went to the ACC title game last year. There's a lot of hype around Virginia Tech right now, and even Duke, I think, could surprise a lot of people. When I say that, before anyone jumps the gun on that, when I say surprise a lot of people, is that they could have a 7-8 win season in year 1 of the Manny Diaz era. But anyways, yes, when we think of the big conferences, we think the SEC, we think the Big Ten, but the ACC is going to be competitive and deep this year. And I don't think enough college football fans are really paying attention to that. So yes, this is no cap to me. People are sleeping on the ACC.
When I look at the ACC, just to give my 2 cents here in, I see one of those conferences that's like everyone ends up bowl eligible because there's so much, not mediocrity. There are some very good teams in there, but every team has something about them, especially at the quarterback position, that makes me like them. But there are also a lot of question marks. I mean, like we've talked about Cam Ward, like we've talked about DJ Uyunglele. Can he recapture the magic at FSU? Louisville brings in a transfer
Pause,
quarterback.
pause, 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 pause.
What?
What magic? DJ Uyunglele has been kind of average for being a 5-star, number 1, number 2, depending on the recruiting site, rated quarterback coming out of high school. So what magic are we talking about?
The magic of being a 5-star recruit.
Okay, fair enough.
Malik Murphy comes in from Texas. Max Johnson at North Carolina. Hayes King at Georgia Tech. Kyle McCord, the guy who left Ohio State, comes into Syracuse. Can he revive his career? Cade Kublik. Can he revive Dabo Sweeney's seemingly failing career? Or going downhill career. And Preston Stone at SMU, who Ryan's already talked about SMU a little bit, they're going to be another team with a very good quarterback. There is a lot of good quarterback play in the ACC, but a lot of question marks, which causes me to see a lot of 8-4, 7-5, and 9-3 teams. But I think Florida State will outclass the rest and end up winning the conference championship. So, but I see the ACC though as the conference that ends up seemingly having a team in every bowl game. They have a chance to put a team in come December. So that's my take on the ACC. If you like quarterback play, you need to keep your eye on it. And speaking, like Les said, of leaving Alabama out of the college football playoff last year, we all know what's gone on this offseason for 2 of the storied programs that did make the playoffs, one of whom won the championship under some mysterious circumstances that may or may not involve dressing up and infiltrating MAC schools on the sidelines, but we'll talk about that later. But question number 4 for Les and Ryan. We're going to start with Les on this one. Michigan and Alabama fall off the map. Cap or no cap? Les, take it away.
Matt, you follow me on social media, correct?
I do.
So you know that I love to troll college football fans and Alabama fans in particular.
Yes, it's kind of funny. Uh-oh.
But it's cap. They're not going anywhere. They are not going anywhere. Look, Matt, and to keep it on theme, you and I on this show have been doing this show for longer than we even can recap at this point. And you and I have been big on Kalen DeBoer since the very beginning of it. They got Jalen Milroe coming back. They landed some key transfers in the transfer portal. They're hot on the recruiting trail right now. So maybe they're not natty favorites year 1 because I know that was the expectation for Nick Saban teams every year, but they're not going anywhere. They're not going to suck. Like they're still going to compete week in and week out, and they're still going to be that red X on every team's schedule like they are because they are Alabama. And then as for Michigan, I'm hearing they could have an even more physical defense this year. And of course, that's headlined by Mason Graham, who's one of the top players in college football. Who's that? I'm blanking on that DB's name. I think Will Johnson, I think is his
Will
name.
Johnson, you are
Will
correct.
Johnson. Yeah, he's headlined as one of the best DBs in college football. That is up for debate, I will say. But, anyways, their physical defense is a lot of why they won the national championship last year. And if it's even more physical this year, that could be a problem for offenses that they play. And the only question there is what kind of quarterback play are we going to get from Alex Orji? And RIP to this kid's reaction across student sections, across road games, across college football, because I cannot wait to hear what they have to say every game. But all jokes aside, he is the deciding factor on how good Michigan is going to be this year. It's up in the air how good of an era Sharon Moore will have in Ann Arbor, but I don't think they're going anywhere, especially this year. Their defense is going to be too good. Hey, do y'all remember that crazy stat that the 0-1 Miami team, if they didn't score an offensive touchdown, they still would have won like 7, 8 games? Yeah. I mean, same logic here. That's what I got to say.
Basically. All right, Ryan.
I'm gonna go Cap also. Hold on. I Michigan and Bama will
First of
still.
having more hair than me.
I'll get there. Uh,
Pray you
Michigan and
don't.
Bama will still be top 8 for me. Um, Michigan defense will be outstanding. Will Johnson, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham. They got a transfer linebacker, which is huge. Jason Barham from Maryland. And they still have a really good secondary. And Alabama, I think that their defense will struggle a little bit, but their offense is still going to be really good. Bringing back Milrow is really good, and you know how Kalen DeBoer's offense last year was. I mean, they had some really good players, but the offensive scheme was really, really good. Um, but yeah, for Michigan, I think it's their offense that they will need to step up. Obviously, with losing Corum, JJ McCarthy, they still have Donovan Edwards, who should be good, and the run game should be good. We will see how many orgies in the end zone we will have, but
Nice zinger. How you feel about that, Bean? Bean
uh,
abuse.
yeah, but I think that the both teams will stand their ground in the new conference that they or in the same conference with new teams. I just don't think that they will fall off completely. I think that they, like Les said, Alabama won't be the championship, like they won't be projected college football championship, but they'll still be up there. Like they're still gonna be really good. They're not really going anywhere. And yeah, so I'm gonna go Cap for Michigan and Alabama falling off.
I will say that one of the things I do like about Michigan, even though referencing them seems to be an invitation to start talking about Caligula all of a sudden, is that they do have a great way of controlling the ball with the running core they've got. So that's why, and with Alabama, Les, we've had this discussion before. The horror movie is never over until you're sure the bad guy is dead. And Alabama, they may have been hit in the head by the final girl in last season, but they're not dead. They're Alabama. They're going to come back and they're going to haunt us forever. So I also would agree with both of those being capped. Like we said, national championship, not really. This winning, yeah, that's just what programs like that do. And speaking of Michigan, their biggest competition in the eyes of many in the very hotly contested Big Ten race, the Oregon Ducks, have a new quarterback in Dylan Gabriel, the former UCF and Oklahoma quarterback. And now the expectations are even higher for Dylan Gabriel, which just leads us to our fifth question of the day, which is Dylan Gabriel is the Heisman Trophy favorite at this point. Ryan, go on and give us your opinion on whether Dylan Gabriel is the favorite for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go no cap. I think he should be. He has the most experience out of all the top quarterbacks that are still in college. I remember when he played for UCF and they played against Louisville and Louisville somehow got a late second win. But he last year played with Oklahoma. He had a very solid season. They just needed more on the team. He's a very solid left-handed quarterback, or very solid quarterback anyways, that Oregon really needs. he has the best weapons he's had at Oregon, and I think that he'll really, really do well for them. He just needs to. It's kind of like Will Howard. You just got to get your weapons the ball. You gotta, you just got to be the leader. You got to get them the ball because they will do all the work, and that's how you win games. But you know, I I I don't disagree at all that he should be the Heisman favorite. I think that he'll have a great season, and yeah, so I am gonna go no cap.
All right, Les. Uh oh. Uh oh. Oh no.
That's cap.
Oh.
That's cap. Because y'all heard my hot take heading into the college football season, even before we did this cap or no cap episode, and that is that Riley Leonard is going to win the Heisman this year. And my reasoning behind that, I've said it ad nauseum at this point. He's a dual threat quarterback, so he fits the description. He had over 30 touchdowns his last healthy season. He has more talent around him than ever. I mean, it's no comparison between the type of talent they get in Durham versus the type of talent they get in South Bend. His new offensive coordinator coached the Heisman Trophy winner last year. And honestly, if you go statistically over the last 7 years, Mike Denbrock has shown offensive improvement every year for 7 years running. So any LSU fans that came from my neck in the Twitter section talking about how Denbrock's not a really good coach offensively, you might want to check the numbers on that. And I think the difference between Leonard and Gabriel for me is that we've seen Gabriel with that level of talent because Oklahoma's got some dudes on their team. That Burks receiver is a stud. But we've never seen Leonard with this level of talent around him. And I think that's the biggest difference. And I'll take it a step further. I'll say Gabriel will not even be a finalist in New York. I think the 3 Heisman finalists that will attend the Heisman ceremony in New York in December are going to be, of course, Riley. I think the second is going to be Shedeur Sanders. And I think Jalen Milroe is going to be the third. So those are my 3 Heisman finalist, with Riley Leonard ultimately winning the coveted Heisman Trophy award.
All I heard is that you hate Travis Hunter and Quinn Ewers.
Are there 4?
I think there's 3. There's 3 finalists that get the invite, but there's some years there is 4 actually, but I think
There is 4.
about 3.
Okay, because last year was Jade Daniels. Um,
That guy from that thing.
the other guy, and then that other quarterback. The other guy.
They're usually all quarterbacks, aren't they?
Yeah, they're usually all
Yeah,
quarterbacks.
but
So Ashton Genty, Quinn Ewers, Travis Hunter, y'all just got called out. That's what we're saying.
Ollie Gordon.
If that's how you want to take it, I can't control how you. I cannot control how you perceive my information.
Was Ollie Gordon your 4th
Gordon
guy that you
likes
didn't want
the
to say?
trophy.
Oh, now you're capping. Okay, now you about to piss me off.
I just like to thank the
Hey,
West-
Ryan came in with the energy on this pod. I love it. Talking about how many orgies in the end zone, then accusing me of loving Ollie Gordon. That's crazy. I'm here for it.
Oh, there's a really bad joke I could make right now, but I'm not going to.
Oh yeah, I think you should make it.
No, I am not going to because we
Please
could get
do.
rated-
Bean
we are
says
gonna
make
get
it.
Rated R. Oh, hey, a phone's going off. That's not good. Okay. As this phone goes off, I'm going to.
We're getting calls to get canceled.
We're being canceled in real time. Okay,
Right.
so we're gonna move on to question number 6, which is the playoffs have expanded to 12 teams. That is a bona fide certified fact. And there is a guaranteed spot for one of the members of the group of 5 in said playoff, probably as the 12th seed. And so, question number 6, Liberty is the team to beat for that group of 5 team that makes the college football playoff. Cap or no cap? Les, you go first.
So y'all probably know who you think I want to talk about. But I'm going to shock the world, and I'm going to say, and I'm not going to talk about them. Because even though they have the best field in college football, they have the best running back in college football, a 5-star quarterback transferred in, good young coach, and of course, as you all know, it's not a Less is More sports podcast without shouting out Boise State. But as much as it kills me to say, no, they will not be the at-large bid for the 12th seed of the college football playoff, because looking at their schedule, as much as I would love to see it happen because it would be amazing, I don't see them getting past Oregon. And when I look at Liberty's schedule, it's an absolute cakewalk. And the fact that they're already rated this high going into the preseason and having an easy schedule where I doubt they pick up a loss, it's going to be easy for them to win that at-large bid to be the 12th seed of the college football playoff. So, yeah,
Right.
this is no cap. Liberty has the best odds.
Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go no cap also. Um, they're bringing back Caden Salters, who's a very good quarterback. He had like 32 touchdowns last year and 6 interceptions. They're very good stats. They did get um demolished in the bowl game last year against Oregon, but it happens. But yeah, I think they will be the best team and they will enter the playoff. I think they will put up a good fight against the Power 5 D1 teams that they play. I just this is not March Madness and they're not going to upset anyone. I just don't see it happening.
No.
Um yeah, this is totally different obviously from March Madness even though we're making it bigger and who knows? Maybe in the far future it will become a 64 team playoff. That would be absolutely nuts.
That would
But
literally kill everyone.
all
I might even
players,
get recruited at that point.
yeah, teams are going to have a 500 kid limit
Oh
on their
my.
team.
No walk-ons, 500 scholarships. You have to love the look, right? I
Yeah,
will I will say
All of the university money goes towards a football program.
yeah.
there
Every
are no
cent.
other sports, just college football all the time.
But but yeah, I think they will put up a good fight against a team. I just they're not going to upset anyone, but it'll look good for their program. It'll look
Right.
really good. So yeah, I'm gonna go no cap.
I would agree with that, but I will say that Liberty's schedule isn't as easy as people think it is. They do have a couple of games that make my eyebrow go in that arching, ooh, Matt likes this game position. Prefer if they've got a game on pretty early, 2 games early in the season, actually. I had to look up the dates. September 14th, they host UTEP. UTEP is an underrated team. I think they'll give them a fight. And the game I'm really worried about for Liberty that could let Boise Snake, now that would be a
You
team.
talking about my squad like that?
Boy, Malachi Nelson is a snake. No, he's not a snake. I've never met the guy.
He's
Hey,
slither
the
like a
game.
snake if you play with him on College Football 25.
A now the game that could let State sneak into that playoff happens on September the 28th when Liberty visits Appalachian State, another team that's pretty good, and we all know what App State can do when you put them in a situation. They have a tendency to turn Boone, North Carolina, into a house of horrors on the Blue Ridge Mountains. So right now, I'm saying that's no cap that Liberty is the Group of Five favorite, but don't sleep on Boise State and watch out for those Appalachian State Mountaineers. We've got a little under 10 minutes to go, so we're going to shift into overdrive to get through some of these final questions because I think this next one won't take long to answer at all. With a 12-team playoff, we're going to see more key injuries to key players. Ryan, is that cap or no cap?
Yeah, I'm gonna go no cap again. It's pretty easy answer. The longer seasons, the more pull on the player's body that is really gonna hurt teams. I obviously nobody should wish injury on anyone. I just think that sadly it will happen to some people. But them training staffs, they're gonna be putting in some work this season. All right, with the 12-team playoff coming in. Um, but yeah, no cap. There's gonna be more injuries. Players' bodies are gonna be hurting more. It's just how it is with the longer season.
Les, what do you think?
So I'm going to surprise you all, and I'm going to cap this one. And
Ooh,
this is kind of difficult for me to answer because, yes, like I get what Ryan's saying, and Ryan's point makes 100% sense. But at the end of the day, for me, football is a contact sport. Injuries happen, players get hurt. So for me, I don't think it'll be necessarily that there's more games that players will get hurt. I just think people will get hurt because it's football at the end of the day. So it's hard for me to put it on
yeah.
the more games specifically. So yeah, that's why I capped this. It was tough for me to answer, but that was the best I got.
All right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that seems like it seems like one of those questions that's both incredibly easy and incredibly hard to answer. Just like this next question, coming in at number 8. With the expanded playoffs and all that fun stuff, and all the competition levels rising across conferences due to expansion, there will be no undefeated teams this year. Cap or no cap? Les, you're going to start this one off
Cool.
because, yeah, I figured that was coming.
We just talked about Liberty. If they're as good as advertised, they'll go undefeated. I can see the winner of the Texas Georgia game going undefeated, the winner of the Ohio State Oregon game going undefeated. Um, maybe with the 12-team playoff, not as many teams maybe finish undefeated. Keyword being finish the season undefeated.
Right.
But if we're talking about completing the regular season, yeah, I see several teams going undefeated. And did I put the Texas cap on because I may be predicting Texas going undefeated? Just like the how many licks does it take to get the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world will never know.
May never know.
The world may never know. But I'm capping this.
I
That
mean,
that we do know.
Does that mean I have to be Mr. Owl? Oh man, I hate that guy.
Always.
All right, Ryan, what do you think? Any undefeated teams this year?
I was the one who brought up this topic after many failed tries in the group chat. But yeah, so I brought it up and I was going to be neutral, but I'm going to go cap on come on. I want to go cap on this one. I think that there could be very very limited undefeated teams, maybe one or two. It'll be very tough to keep that undefeated streak in the playoffs, but someone like Liberty or the group of 5 teams that could be undefeated in the season. But obviously it's going to get harder from here. But maybe one or two undefeated teams, but very very small.
Very small amount of undefeated teams, about the 1% undefeated teams. I like that. And now it's time for our last question, which we have almost 5 minutes to discuss because it's one of the questions that always gets people watching, and always someone will have a take about it, which is, will there be a Rocky Mountain High in Colorado this year, or will they underachieve again? So, will Colorado underachieve again? Will Dion Force kids go to more Shadur Sanders rap concerts? We may never know. But, Ryan, what do you think? Will Colorado underperform this year? Cap or no cap?
I think there's some disagrees, but I'm gonna go no cap on this one. I think that they do underachieve again. The individual players will do well, like Shador, Travis, um, maybe some defensive players or offensive line, but I think that they will underachieve again. They're just not built fully. Like they need more solid players. Their offensive line could still be really shaky. Shador was the most sacked quarterback last year, which is not good. But they're also going into the Big 12, and that'd be very tough. They do play Oklahoma State, and the most best running back of all time, Ollie Gordon. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
He
But
makes Barry Sanders look like crap.
um we're obviously kidding, Les.
He's better
But
than Justin Blackman, Brandon Whedon, you name it.
Les is gonna kill us. Um,
It's fun.
but I think it'll be very tough for them going into the Big 12, and it's not going to be easy. And after this season, Shador and Travis are going to leave, and we will see what Dion does if he stays or goes somewhere else.
All right, Les. So, what do you think? Colorado destined to underachieve again this season, cap or no cap?
I had to do some soul searching with this one. And with the help of my man Bean, we have finally come to a decision.
Bum-ba-da-dum.
As Cap, I believe, and y'all need to stop playing with Shadur Sanders, man. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the country last year, and that was with a duty offensive line. And of course, his pops hit that portal, and now he's got all the protection he needs. He's about to tear it up this year. Like I just said, he's going to be a Heisman finalist in New York. And plus, they have the best player in all of college football in Travis Hunter. And not to mention, they have 6 new starters on defense that they acquired through the portal, all seniors, all with experience. I'm just telling you, it's going to be a long year for Colorado haters. Y'all may not like them. You may not like that they're loud, but trust me, this year they're going to back that up. So I believe, and Bean was in on this take. So all credit to Bean.
And the one thing I will say too about Colorado, though, that does scare me is they didn't do themselves any favors with the schedule they're going to play this year, because they're going to start off with North Dakota State, Nebraska, and Colorado State. I've hinted that Colorado State is a little sneakier than people think they are. Nebraska, we're all just kind of waiting for Matt Rule to do something. And North Dakota State, don't forget, they're FCS, but they're one of the powerhouses of the FCS. And then you get into conference play and it eases up a little bit, but they've still got a good streak, an interesting streak at the end of the year with Utah, hosting Utah, at Kansas, and then, like Ryan already mentioned, hosting the greatest running back of all time, Ollie Gordon, and the Oklahoma State Cowboys. So they start hard and they end hard. And what really matters is that meat of the schedule starting around late September and going into early November, mid November. That's going to be what makes or breaks the Buffaloes this year, in my opinion. They've got to nail that part of the schedule and then just win a couple games at the start and end of the season, and they'll be in great shape going forward. But regardless, it's going to be a very interesting and intriguing college football season. We have teams in new conferences, we got new faces, we've got new places, and now the playoffs seemingly mean a little bit more because anybody can do it. So I'm excited. I know Ryan and Les are excited. So, Les, do you have any last words before we get out of here? Because I know you do. So, why don't you hit us with your famous last monologue? Go ahead.
Well, as always, like and subscribe to Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channel. Be sure to follow the social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Threads. That's at Less is More Sports. Be sure to follow me on TikTok for some side quest for the podcast. That's at BeansDad018.
It's
And
mostly Cooper Flag.
it's mostly about Cooper Flag. We're not even going to lie about that.
We can't
I'm not going to
lie.
lie. Matt, you always saying this is a family show, but between how many orgies Michigan's going to have in the end zone and then Colorado's going to start hard and they're going to end hard, I don't know how I feel about all this. I mean,
It's a
I don't mind.
euphemism.
Actually, no, I don't mind it. But Matt's the one who's really big on this being a family show. And he left.
Euphemisms happen in kids' cartoons. It's fine.
And
Yeah.
what was his name? Ole Miss's head coach having them in a chokehold.
No, that's
Oh,
true.
that was Meisinger.
We aren't going there again.
Chris Beard.
Would Les
Yeah.
invite Ollie Gordon to the end zone orgy or not? Is the real question.
Oh my.